to Unravel with Natalie Denise.
Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to Unravel with Natalie Denise. I'm here, a mess, but I'm here, right? I'm so glad to have you guys. We've got a lot to cover tonight. Listen, things are heating up. Things are heating up in the trafficking world, in a lot of different facets. The elite world. We have some Epstein news tonight. We have some cartel news about the border and it heating up with Title 42 lifting. So let's go ahead and get started because, again, this is a lot to cover today. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys had a great day. I hope you guys are going to have a great day. For those of you that listen to this as a morning show, I greatly appreciate all of your support and your attentiveness to this. Hey guys, while you're listening or watching this, please hit the like button, as well as give me a good rating on whatever podcast platform that you're listening to me on. And also, just a humble ask to please spread the word. Word of mouth is the best of travel. And so I really, truly appreciate your support. Send this podcast, grab the link wherever you're watching this, grab it and send it to a group chat, send it to your Facebook groups. Oh, that was my phone. Send it to your text chats, your family chats. Send it to everybody, guys, because we've got to get the word out about what is happening in the world. And guys, I have a feeling that this is going to be bigger than we can ever imagine. I don't know why I have these intuitive feelings that things are, just on the incline. But I'm going to demonstrate this tonight. Okay. What's up, chat? Let me say hi to you guys really quick. Rana, what's up, Rana? The only Warnley. I appreciate you always being attuned. Mark, Mary, hey guys, what's going on? All right, let's get started on this because, again, there is a lot to cover. Okay, we're going to start with the big news. We're going to start with the big news today. So you guys thought that the whole Epstein saga was over, I bet, right? I bet you guys thought that the whole Epstein saga, it was done, it was over. There was nothing else about this. But I'm telling you guys, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna toot my horn tonight. I'm gonna toot my horn tonight because I had a feeling that this was not it. Everything, you know how this works? It almost seems to be like we're giving the baddies like a time. We're giving them leeway to think they have it. They won. There's nothing coming out of this. Things are just going to settle down and nothing more is going to move forward. But listen, I'm telling you, I have a feeling, and I even have a feeling about the chess moves that Virginia Roberts Giuffre made. A lot of people were mad at her. A lot of people even like shaming her and stuff like that. And I get it. Like, I get the criticism that Virginia Roberts Giuffre took from taking that settlement from Prince Andy. But you know what I thought? And I didn't want to say it out loud because I didn't want to seem like, these 17 Anon, the 17 Anon conspiracy theorists, but it always seems to point that way whenever people just have intuitive feelings and just like connect the dots like that. And that's why I don't down Anons at all, because these are some of the most smartest people. They actually, not the theorists, right? Not the theorists. Those are separate from Anons. The ones that just like, oh, I think this is happening and this is why, and they just like base it off of speculation. No, I base this off of concreteness, right? And then I just go off of a little bit of intuition. Okay, let's get started because I'm juicing this up, as you guys can see. So I just saw this pop off. This is coming from Business Insider. The judge rules to unseal documents related to Epstein pals Glenn and Eva Dubin and Ghislaine Maxwell lawsuit. What? I thought all this was done, you say. I thought they got away with it. They just left all these people sealed up and all these things. Look, let me tell you something. This Judge Preska, she was the one who unsealed all the documents initially. So I believe that there are some chess moves. Look, I'm just gonna say it. I don't care if people call me conspiracy theorist or what. I think that there are some chess moves that have been made, and maybe it's my optimism, maybe it's a mixture of the two. My intuitiveness, my intuition. I mean, and from my observations, I just feel like this is not it, guys. How could this be it? It can't be, right? Okay, let's jump into it. Documents related to Jeffrey Epstein's friend Glenn and Eva Dubin will be released in a lawsuit filed against Ghislaine Maxwell. Eva Anderson Dubin, a physician, former model, and former Miss Sweden, dated Epstein on and off between 1983 and 1991. She and her husband, billionaire Glenn Dubin, remained friends with Epstein and their children, saw the convicted pedophile, and accused the trafficker as an uncle figure. The Dubins were among a group of non-parties whose relationship with Maxwell or Epstein. I'll tell you guys what happened. All right, let's just skip to it. Let's skip to it. So they were close friends with the guy, right? They were close friends with Jeffrey. Jeffrey dated Eva Anderson Dubin in the 80s, I believe, for a good while. So that's his ex-girlfriend. And jumping to the trial, as you guys know, if you guys are interested in the trial, please go to youtube.com/Natalie Denise. I'm probably one of the very few out there that covered the trial in extensiveness, where we went day by day, transcript by transcript, coverage of multiple sources to gain insight into what happened to the trial in that trial. So if you are interested in that, youtube.com/Natalie Denise, all of the trial videos are there. I encourage you to maybe brush up on it because, again, this might be popping up. And I made a very interesting observation on this, okay? So anyway, Eva Anderson Dubin was one of Epstein's girlfriends. And Eva Anderson Dubin, actually, she denied in the trial that she had never seen Epstein do anything with young girls, nothing. And I'm going to get to that part as well. Okay. So 8 people, including the Dubins, objected to at least some of the documents that name them from being made public. On Tuesday, U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska in Manhattan ruled that documents involving the Dubins and their former house manager, Ronaldo Rizzo, will be released. The Dubins didn't oppose the release of the documents other than one part of the transcript that Preska said that had a typographical error. That document will remain sealed, Preska said. The lawsuit was settled in 2017, but Giuffre, who accused Epstein and Maxwell of trafficking her, had fought for years to have the material from it unsealed. Maxwell initially opposed the unsealing, but now it makes no stance. Now, you guys remember, I believe I made a video on, I'm always referring back to my YouTube, but it's a great source of information because I go through these instances one after the other. So again, if you're interested in anything related to this, go to my YouTube, Natalie Denise on YouTube, just search it. I have a lot of these videos covering this, but and I actually think I covered this here on the podcast, but Ghislaine Maxwell, at one point, she was like, no, don't unseal. And you guys saw this. She fought over and over and over again for the judge not to unseal these documents. Finally, at the very bottom of the trial, I believe the trial was already completed. I don't think she's been sentenced yet, but she was found guilty. She was like, you know what, whatever, unseal whatever you want. I'm paraphrasing here, but she basically was like, I have no fight anymore. Like, go ahead and unseal it. And that was surprising, right? That was very surprising. So anyway, so now she's like, no, whatever, Maxwell initially opposed it, but now she has no stance. And Miami Herald is also among the parties fighting for the documents to be made public. By the way, the Miami Herald was one of the biggest proponents for the whole Epstein saga to resurface into the public eye because they made a very long, very in-depth investigative piece on everything. And, they really questioned why did he get off in the first place? So there were already some instances. All right. So moving on, Anderson Dubin testified in the related criminal trial against Maxwell in December. during which she had denied suggestions that she had participated in group SEX with a woman who allegedly that Maxwell facilitated SEX, group SEX, when the accuser was 14. The accuser, who was identified as Jane, said a woman named Eva Michelle Kelly and Sophie sometimes participated in those groups SEXs, in which she said happened at Epstein's Palm Beach, Florida home in the 1990s. Jane didn't reveal the last names of those women in her testimony. At the trial, Anderson Dubin denied ever meeting Jane before. She said absolutely never participated in the group SEX with Jane. And she said that Eva is a common name in Northern Europe. So that was her excuse, right? She said, no, I had never participated in that. Even though she was a longtime girlfriend of Epstein, she said she never saw him with any underage girls, right? So continued on, other documents remain under seal. The documents related to Dubin and Rizzo are to be unsealed in the next 2 weeks, Preska ruled. Rizzo, a former house manager to the Dubins, had previously testified in 2016 deposition that a 15-year-old Swedish girl who accompanied Maxwell to the Dubins' home tearfully told him that Maxwell had threatened and tried to force her to have SEX with Epstein. Rizzo had opposed the documents in the case from being released, but Preska found that she had already been named in the press and had been given interviews, so no justifications exist to keep them sealed. But Preska did order that documents related to 5 other does remain sealed. They include 2 minors who played no part in the conduct alleged in the suit, a person who worked for Epstein in a financial capacity, and a man who was named in the flight log with Epstein, Preska said. All right. So let's move back up, right? So again, the long-time girlfriend of Epstein, who apparently kept contact with him after the relationship, even got their family acquainted with Epstein and all that, right? So she's saying again, I didn't see nothing. I didn't participate in nothing. But what I found interesting back when I was covering this trial, I made this thread on Twitter, right? I was like, listen, I know this seems far-fetched, but I don't think this is over, right? I made this, I just voiced my thoughts on this. Let me do this again. Let me tweet this again, because let me just tweet this again. Resurfaced. Whoops. I can spell resurfaced. All right. So I go into a lot of thought processes of why I don't think that this is over. And in one particular part, I mentioned Eva Dubin. Check the date here. I said this in December 29th of 2021. This was just this past December. I made this observation. Eva Dubin testified in denial of the accusation of having the group SEX with teen girls, and also denied seeing Jeffrey Epstein in any inappropriate relationship with teenage girls, but also denies ever meeting one of the prosecution witnesses, Jane. This is the same Jane Doe we're talking about from this article. It gets interesting. But when asked about specific flight records showing that her family trips, including one in May of 1998, flight from Palm Beach to Teterboro, that also included Jane, Epstein, and Maxwell, Eva Dubin couldn't recall being on the same plane or the purpose of the trips. So this is like, I know this is a very quick observation. It's a very quick comment, but imagine that. Like the flight logs say that Eva Dubin was on this plane with this witness, right? So, and she testified. So that would mean that if she was lying, then she could be tried for perjury for lying to the court, because she hurt the process of discovery. So anyway, that is my my quick observation on that. And I mentioned this because I bring it back to Virginia Roberts Giuffre, right? Virginia Roberts Giuffre, she took the settlement, and I know a lot of people are disappointed in that. And at surface level, I can see why people get really disappointed in that. But what if Virginia Roberts Giuffre was tipped off on some information that was going to happen at another angle, in which she thought, you know what? If that's going to happen and it's going to bring justice, why not get a settlement out of this? Why not, because if the public is going to see this later down the line and people are going to know the truth anyway, despite if I go through my route or their whatever other route, why don't I just get what's mine anyway, right? And we can think of this as a form of restitution as well. And I know a lot of people don't understand that concept of restitution. And I know a lot of people would love to see Prince Andy go through a trial. But, in reality, looking at how the trial went for Ghislaine Maxwell and how short sighted it was, how fast it went, what are the chances that the same thing would happen with Prince Andy? And then that would be another disappointment, right? So I just have a feeling, and this is just a speculation, and I will preface that this is my own speculation. This is Natalie's own opinion. I have a speculation that Virginia Roberts Giuffre possibly was tipped off on some information that possibly would implicate that there is another angle to all of this Epstein saga, and that's why she took what she did, and she went a little quiet so that way she can hibernate until something else at another angle was about to pop off, right? So that's my observations on that news. I saw that news just before the podcast. I thought I'd bring that up to you guys. But okay, that's the news drop on the whole Epstein saga. Eva Anderson Dubin, his ex-girlfriend. They're going to unseal the records. We'll see what is related, what's not related, or if it's even implicated. So we'll see. Next 2 weeks is when these should be unsealed. So we'll stand by. All right, let's move on to the next news. Actually, I had another article. Let me reach my phone that I just tossed on the floor. Let me see. All right. Let's get to, I want to get this article from Canada. I know I have some Canadian listeners on here, so let me just get this on here. What's up, Canada, by the way? Thank you for listening to me through the radio network. I really appreciate your support. All right, so let's actually cover this one coming from the DFW, the Dallas area. 8 people are arrested in Oklahoma in connection with the missing DFW teen trafficked for sex. 8 people have been arrested in Oklahoma in connect. 8 people. Imagine that. 8 people for one 15-year-old girl, right? Imagine the network. For one trafficked 15-year-old girl, 8 people are implicated in this. That's how sick the world is, ladies and gentlemen. 8 people have been arrested in Oklahoma in connection with the report of a missing 15-year-old girl from northern Richland Hills. Police now say has been trafficked for sex. Investigators in North Richland Hills confirmed to NBC5 Tuesday that the girl attended a Dallas Mavericks game on April 8th, and after getting up from her seat to use a bathroom alone, she never returned. She apparently left with 2 males from there. Gary Knight with the Oklahoma City Police Department said Tuesday, "We later found out that she was being sex trafficked online. We had pictures of her, and we put those out to the media, and it was going on here in OKC." Knight, a public information officer with the police department in Oklahoma City, said investigators spent days trying to locate her. "We renewed our plea to the public through the news media yesterday," he said. "It's important to note that there's no indication right now that this is some kind of kidnapping where someone is grabbed and thrown into a vehicle or something like that. It's unclear exactly why she went with these men, but there were," excuse me, I popped my knuckles, "but there were apparently 2 people she left with from the basketball game." How horrific is that? Like, tell me, how horrific is that? Right? She goes to a basketball game and she gets kidnapped, essentially forced against her will into the trade. And there's 8 people, 8, that are implicated in this whole scheme on a 15-year-old. KFOR TV in Oklahoma City picked up the story on the missing girl and shared her photos, which police said led to the viewer tip, and she had been seen in an apartment complex. If something seems out of place, it doesn't have to go through the lengths of your child being missing, but if something seems out of place, just err on the other side of the caution and call 911. Let us take a look at it, Knight added. Police followed up on the lead and found that the missing teenager, 8 people were arrested, including Kenneth Nelson, Sarah Hayes, and Karen Gonzalez, all of whom were charged with human trafficking and the distribution of child pornography. The other 5 people were arrested on either outstanding warrants, rape, or prostitution charges. Details of those arrests are below. And they named Sania Alexander, Melissa Wheeler, Siobhan Gibson, Kenneth Nelson, Sarah Hayes, Karen Gonzalez, Talia Gibson, and Stephen Hill. And these are the people implicated here. Because the teen is both underage and apparent victim of sex trafficking, her name and photograph have been withheld for the story. Of course, we would expect this. Crazy, 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 crazy. All right, let's actually go to the next one coming from, okay, this one is telling, right? This is telling. Let me see what, let's see. This one is telling here. Okay, let's see. A Springville man paid a boy $15,000. Okay, what is that already for you guys? Pop quiz. This man was balling out of control. Just had 50. Rich. He paid him $15,000 to keep quiet about sex abuse. I believe this is in his church are growing. Kevin G. Sykes, 54, was charged last month of sexual exploitation of felony after police say child pornography was found on his phone by his boss. Now, so maybe he wasn't balling out of control. Maybe he had 15,000 saved up somewhere. Now Sykes is being held at the Utah County Jail for investigation of forcible sodomy, human trafficking, sexual abuse of a minor, obstructing justice, and child abuse. He is accused of sexually abusing a teenage boy over the course of 3 to 4 years and paying him thousands of dollars. Sykes sexually abused a teen boy in 2020 and paid him $500, according to a police booking affidavit, which also alleges that the abuse continued for years in multiple jurisdictions. And I, I don't find a lot of stories like this often, and I look through a plethora of trafficking headlines every day. And it's very sad that there aren't a lot of, stories reporting this, just for the fact that I know that this happens a lot more often than we see, where boys are exploited, right? We're always talking about the girls and the women, but I know that there are boys exploited, and there's a multitude of reasons why you don't see these stories, a lot of times because boys are very emotional. Well, any victim through this is emotionally damaged, but, with boys, it's a little different because they feel like they can't come out about this type of thing, when really, there ought to be a societal open arms to this type of thing, because this is just as horrific for boys as it is for girls, right? Especially that if they bottle this up, I mean, imagine the damage that it's causing them spiritually and mentally. So they say, anything because he was paying him, the affidavit states. The boy estimated that over 3 to 4 years, Kevin was given approximately $15,000 to not say anything about sexual abuse. In addition, the boy told police that Sykes purchased 3 cell phones for him, paid for his phone plan, and provided him with nicotine products. Police say that Sykes claimed to be mentoring the child at the time, but which put Sykes in a position of trust over the boy. When Utah County Sheriff's deputies went to a home in Santakeen on Monday, where Sykes was staying to arrest him on the sex abuse allegations, he allegedly refused to come out of his house. Kevin braced himself in the doorway by placing his hands above his head on the door jamb, according to the affidavit. When the relative tried to pull Sykes back into the house, the deputies ended up getting into a physical altercation with him. It should be noted that since Kevin's release after bonding out of his previous case and arrest, Kevin has been seen in public by a law enforcement officer with an unknown 14 to 15-year-old male. So he was abusing other males, looks to be. I also have been contacted by other males that reported being victimized by Kevin almost 30 years ago, police wrote an arrest report. After his initial arrest, the sheriff's office said that Sykes has a position in the church where he works with young men and boys in the same age range as those depicted in the pictures found on his phone. Sykes was scheduled to make an appearance in court on Tuesday afternoon. Police have requested that he be held in jail without bail. I want a picture of this dude. What does he look like? You know, he was implicated in church. He was apparently a leader in church. That is absolutely sick. And he, you know, this is how much people are willing to go to the extent to keep a victim quiet. And this is sad. And this is why, you know, I'm glad that there is there's finally like a safe house for boys in Texas. It's called the Ranch of Hope, I believe. Even that is sad that there's just one house, the first of its kind for boys. So, you know, we don't hear these stories often, but also there's not a lot of support in the counter trafficking industry to, you know, give awareness to this type of thing. It's incredibly sad. All right. So the other week, before my hiatus, when I was at the border, we went through a story of, it was actually a listing of missing children from New York, right? You guys remember this podcast where we went through it was 75 children that were missing. And the thing that's most implicated in all of this is that, you know, it hasn't even been, we're not even at the midpoint of this year, and already almost 100 children are missing in New York. We saw that 100 kids were missing in California. I mean, like, how does this happen, right? So 75 kids as of 2 weeks ago were missing in New York. And I remembered that when I saw this story, because they found a teen from New York, and she was actually being trafficked. Missing New York teen escaped sex traffickers, mom says, and this is coming from WOWKTV.com. A teenage girl from Queens who had been missing for 6 months turned up at Staten Island Police Precinct early Friday morning, telling cops she escaped sex traffickers who raped and drugged her. She was being held with two other girls, the 15-year-old's mother told Nexstar sister station PIX11 News Friday. She's at the hospital on Staten Island, and PIX11 News said that they profiled the story of the girl from Forest Hills twice as part of a regular report on the missing, right? So again, this little girl was missing already. She was already profiled in one of these missing people pieces. Is this the girl? I'm so glad that they do this. I actually need to look at the way that they do this. I just is kind of a tangent, but I like the way that this local news station does this. This is very smart. They do a report. They actually do a report on missing people. So anyway, they profiled the missing teen twice. As law enforcement source confirmed, she turned up at the 121st precinct Friday morning. The girl was 14 years old when she disappeared on October 13th. Her father was driving throughout the 5 boroughs, traveling as far away as New Jersey and Pennsylvania to search for the teen. They were holding her first in Brooklyn, the mother said. 2 of the men who allegedly kidnapped her daughter, and then they passed her on to someone else. The only thing I know is that it was in New Jersey. The mother later told PIX 11 News, some men had the daughter in her car traveling to New Jersey to Staten Island around midnight Thursday when they threw her out of the car and threatened her. The law enforcement source confirmed that the teen, who only turned 15 this week, went to the 121st precinct in the early hours of Friday morning. Detectives from the NYPD's Human Trafficking Unit were expected to interview the girl. The mother said that her daughter and the 2 other girls had been sexually assaulted and drugged by the men who were holding them. She said that they had them in separate rooms and had the doors locked. The mother said, quoting her daughter, she doesn't know the girls because they always had them separated. So there's 2 other girls apparently in this scenario that are held against their will. I don't know if they're still being trafficked at this very moment, but there's no news mentioning them getting out of it. So imagine that. As we're speaking about this story right now, we know that there are possibly 2 other girls that are being held in captivity against their will by human traffickers. Imagine that. As we're talking about this story right now, at this very moment, there are girls that we know of that are missing, that are being held by traffickers. Somehow the teen found a way out. The girl reportedly was running on the streets of Staten Island and asked a woman to direct her to a precinct. The mother had told her daughter, the mother said her daughter told the woman, I've been kidnapped and raped and these people are trying to hurt me. The mom said that she spoke of her daughter on FaceTime after the girl was taken to Staten Island Hospital. She lost a lot of weight, the mother said. I can tell her face. She got scars where they dragged her and did stuff to her. The teen's case received national attention after Newstar's PIX 11 News reported her story. PIX 11 News was contacted by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, who asked them to profile the girl's case. The girl's mother had recently been diagnosed with breast cancer, and when her daughter disappeared, the teen had gone missing for brief periods before. Her father said that he used his daughter's phone and social media contacts to try to trace her movements, saying she met some bad people while playing games on a popular basketball app. Oh, there we goes the apps. There goes the apps again. I actually, you know what? I was speaking on the Donnie Walker morning show this morning. It's actually one of the stations that feature my this podcast. And he was interviewing me this morning, and he was asking me, what apps do these parents have to be aware of? And I was like, it would be easy for me to say something like Instagram, TikTok, Roblox, all these little game apps and stuff. But really what I told him is like, look, if there is another person on the other side, if it's user to user and you can interact with them, that's a bad one, right? That's a bad app. That's a bad app for kids. And I also advised his listeners, like, listen, if you're a parent out there and you're trying to monitor what your kids are doing, which is, oh my gosh, in this day and age, you have to do that. You have to work double time as a parent. I couldn't even imagine. You have to work double time as a parent to keep your child safe and your teen safe, right? Because they are so targeted by these predators. But basically, like, if they have a phone, and I didn't have a phone like this when I was a teen, shows my age. I can say that now. I'm still young, but I'm just saying, like, I'm one of the, more mature millennials out there. But just kind of clocking back on this, but back when I was a teen, we didn't have these type of phones, these smartphones where it was easily accessible to the internet. When I first got my phone, it was like T9 texting, and phone calls. That's all you could really do, and play Snake on the phone, right? That was the only game. That was the only app at the time. So we don't really have access the way that teens and children do now, especially if your child has a phone and maybe you ironically want them to have a phone for safety reasons. still monitor them somehow. And it might be micromanaging and it might be a lot of work, but this is what's happening. They're finding teens on basketball apps, like anywhere it can happen, anywhere. So just as an FYI, this is happening. This is this can happen at any point, but I'm glad that this teen is under care right now and under supervision. And I hope and let's just pray for the other teens that she mentioned that were also being withheld by these traffickers, that they are also recovered, because this story is it's so dark to uncover those details. Okay, let's move on to the next story. This wasn't the story. Let's actually move on to the Canadian story before I go into my last bits. So Canada, you're listening to me. I know you guys are listening to me. Beware of this. This is coming from Sask today. So this is the Saskatoon area. 3 suspects are charged with human trafficking and participating in organized crime, and they get bail. Saskatoon, 3 suspects charged last year. Get out of here. 3 suspects charged last year in a human trafficking and organized crime investigation have been released on bail. The 4th suspect is still wanted by police. In June of 2019, the RCMP became aware of suspected human a trafficking group operating across Western Canada with strong ties to Saskatchewan. In June of 2021, following an 18-month investigation into human trafficking, Saskatchewan RCMP, federal serious and organized crime, issued Canada-wide arrest warrants for Bashir Ben Salah, Male Jean, Kenny Juth, and Billy Glenold Fleury. All 4 were charged with participating in the activities of criminal organization, trafficking persons, material benefit from trafficking persons, or withholding from destroying identity documents. Jean was arrested in Burnaby, British Columbia 2 months ago. Salah was arrested in Laval, QC 3 months ago, and Juth was turned himself into the Saskatoon Provincial Court on October 6, 2021. Gleno Fleur, still remains at large, and last month the RCMP renewed the request to the public to help locate him. Okay. Jean had a show cause hearing in April 14th and was granted bail. Salah and Jean were also granted bail at previous court appearances. If anyone has information on the person at large who is Glenold Fleur, please do call the RCMP detachment or Crime Stoppers anonymously at 1-800-222-8477. I'm going to show you guys the pictures. I know you guys who are listening on audio podcasts, you can't see pictures. But I'm just going to let my people watching this on YouTube and Patriot Voice TV. These are the people. So if you are in the Canadian area, this is the one at large right here, Billy Glenville Fleury. If you are in the Canadian area, please share this piece with your fellow Canadians because this trafficker is at large, and but also all of them are at large because they're released on bail now. Now they're walking the streets. But so just be aware, Canada, that this is happening. This is it's crazy how these reforms are just happening worldwide, where they're just allowing these criminals to just get out on the streets. It's just insane. All right, let's get into some border news, right? I think this is going to be a regular segment, of course, because of the expected influx, because of the lifting of Title 42. We're all bracing for impact on that. And they are starting to get intel. Of course, we don't need intel to know this, but there's some concreteness. Texas sheriff says Mexican cartels are preparing for a massive human smuggling operation. Of course. And of course, part of that is trafficking, right? Because you can't have smuggling without having trafficking activity. As the Biden administration moves forward to ending Title 42 enforcement, Mexican cartels and their operatives are making preparations to move a massive amount of illegal crossers. Goliad County Sheriff Roy Boyd told the Center Square in an exclusive interview. Boyd calls it migrants modern day slaves who are being moved through massive human trafficking networks into Houston. Cartels are preparing to transport slaves to Houston for distribution throughout the U.S. Well, what are the likeliness of me reading this story, me being from Houston? Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wee, wow. This is happening. Okay. So specifically, they have intel that they're moving these people into Houston. And if you guys know anything about Houston, our government in Houston, our local government is so corrupt, man. So corrupt. They advocate for stuff like this. Oh, yeah. Cartels, here's the door. Here you go. Like stuff like that. You know what I mean? What is the likeliness that this is covering Houston? Okay. Cartels are preparing to transport slaves to Houston for distribution throughout the U.S., he said. After the Biden administration announced it was ending Title 42, an uptick in human smuggling occurred in Goliad. Boyd, the Center Square, in the past few weeks, he said the deputies have arrested several smugglers. But what is more unusual, he said, is that they started to find stolen vehicles stashed deep into the brush off farm-to-market roads. The vehicles were intentionally placed there for human smuggling purposes. He said the sheriff's office also received reports of stolen vehicles from residents living in remote areas at the edge of the county, which is out of the ordinary, he added. Activity is picking up, he told Center Square. We suspect the cartels and their operatives are making preparations for the coming surge by stealing and stashing trucks, identifying unused rural properties, and scouting footpaths. Due to the overwhelming number of people waiting to gain illegal entry into Texas, we suspect that illegal crossers, because of these platforms, I got to change these words. You guys get the drift, right? Illegal crossers will once again be stashed illegally on private property in our area. Boyd has been aggressively combating illegal crossers, even though in his county, 150 miles north of Texas-Mexico border. That's insane, right? 150 miles north. And it's yeah, boy, I just have to rant. I cannot believe that our Texas governor, up to this point, we've had an influx for a year now. And we have yet to suspend the U.S. Constitution in Texas, in which we have a solution. We could suspend the U.S. Constitution in Texas. It's an easy thing that Abbott can do. And he can act on the Texas Constitution, which then has jurisdiction to defend our borders. Why he hasn't done it, you guys can use your imagination. But this is crazy. This is crazy. At an instant, you could stop this. We don't have to wait for the U.S. government to come to our aid, right? And of course, they're intentionally opening up the borders. Hello, ding dong, right? Abbott has the power to stop this in Texas. I'm so flustered that people just, I don't know, I'm frustrated that he even got the endorsement. I can be fair and I can criticize people of my party, right? And I really believe that was a mistake for Trump to endorse Abbott, right? I really do think so. I really do, because I for everything else, I'm with the guy, right? Policies, everything he did, but endorsing Abbott, why? I just don't understand. I still don't. Maybe it's a chess move, right? Maybe that's a conspiracy theory. Maybe there's a chess move somewhere that's going to expose Abbott down the line, and he has to be center stage in his position as governor. Maybe. I don't know this, but this is so frustrating that we have a solution in Texas. Most Texans know this. Actually, I don't think a lot of Texans know this, because if they knew this, they probably wouldn't have voted for Abbott. But anyway, I digress. we could act on the Texas Constitution and we could easily solve this. Sorry, that was a rant, by the way, if you didn't notice. Boyd said that he and his deputies are standing in the way of the cartels and their operatives motivated to take tens of millions of dollars a week trafficking people as a result of the Biden administration's open border policies. Goliad County, roughly 850 square miles, is a heavily trafficked pass-through county where Mexican cartels and Texas gangs have sought to establish stash sites, or human trafficking stopping points as they make their way to to Houston. Houston is the largest city in Texas, if you guys did not know, and it's one of the largest human trafficking hubs in the U.S. From Goliad, it's roughly a 2-hour drive northeast of Highway 59. Laredo is roughly 3-hour drive southwest of Goliad. And so they talk about stash locations, that the cartels are just finding random stash locations, private properties to stash these things, stolen vehicles, people. Like it's gosh. And let me tell you what the result is. The next story coming from San Antonio Express News. Oh, don't do this to me. Hold on. Don't do this to me. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me do a little workaround really quick. Really quick workaround. Here we go. Okay, so let's just talk about this really quick. Let's go through some of this. Let's actually go back to this one, and we'll talk it through a little bit more extensively before this other next article loads. Okay, so let's actually finish this article here, okay? All right. So he's saying that over the past year, Boyd and his deputies have been monitoring 16 known stash locations in the county. He said that they've been working 24/7, catching mostly single men, tracking them into the brush on foot, even into the night. They're pursuing illegal crossers evading capture who bail out of vehicles after high-speed chases. They pursue trespassers on private property who steal vehicles and other items, breaking into private property as they make their way north. Boyd describes an encounter. A local resident recently had an illegal crosser who trespassed on a high game fence ranch between Charco and Runge. The owner was fishing with his wife during the encounter. And a lot of this is actually another problem because they the illegal crossers, what happens is they ruin these fences, right? A lot of these ranchers, they have to spend thousands more dollars repairing their fences because the crossers, they bend the fence, they break the fences, and their livestock gets out. So it's like it's costing them a lot more money, and again, I pointed to the governor. Why isn't anything being done about this? His ranchers are being affected. His people are being affected. All right, so let's go to the next story. This finally loaded. Undocumented migrant arrested, charged with trafficking, prostituting, sexually assaulting a teenage girl in San Antonio. A crosser from Mexico who had been deported from the U.S. more than 15 times was arrested Friday for allegedly prostituting and sexually assaulting a teenage girl from San Antonio. Juan Carlos Diaz de la Cruz, 29, was charged with sexual assault of a child, trafficking of a child, and prostitution. He's been held on a $750,000 bail. State police said Diaz de la Cruz, who is also known as Carlos, housed the girl and allowed men to have sex with her for $150, according to an affidavit supporting his arrest. In exchange, Diaz de la Cruz would provide the girl with money, food, and shelter. Police were tipped off that Diaz de la Cruz, during an investigation into a missing 17-year-old girl believed to be the victim of sex trafficking, according to the affidavit, which was sworn to the Texas Ranger. In July of 2021, investigators pinged the girl's phone and found her in the West Side apartment with a man named Gerardo Morales Hernandez. And Morales Hernandez told police that he met the girl at a nearby house in Monterey Street where he paid $50 to have sex with the teenager, according to the affidavit. Morales Hernandez, who was involved in human smuggling operations, said that the home on Monterey was a stash house that housed undocumented crossers. Through the investigation, officials encountered a man named Trevino Cartel. No pun intended, I'm sure. That's his name. Trevino Cartel, who told investigators that Diaz de la Cruz was also involved. I'm sorry. You know what? My bad. This is not a bad guy. It was just ironic. Excuse me. X that I ever made that sarcastic, winded comment. I apologize. But Trevino Cartel, who told investigators he was actually outing this trafficker, so I apologize about that. That Diaz de la Cruz was also involved with the human smuggling operation, had ties to the Mexican cartel. Right? So we go from one story to the other where, these cartels are ramping up. They know that they're coming. They're already starting these operations for smuggling. And now we learn that, this guy, this pedofifi who raped this little girl in San Antonio, tied to the cartel. Morales Hernandez and Cartel, who also said that he had sex with a teen, were arrested on sexual assault. So this is a bad guy. So he did have sex with the teen. Were arrested on sexual assault and child prostitution charges. Before investigators could apprehend Diaz de la Cruz, he was deported to Mexico by U.S. Border Patrol. Investigators learned that Diaz de la Cruz had been banned from entering the United States and had been arrested by Border Patrol agents more than 15 times, the affidavit said. So how the hell is he getting back in here? So that is the border reported news that is making the headlines, surprisingly. I'm sure there's going to be more, so we're going to have to stay tuned into that. But anyway, guys, that is the slew of news going on here. Thank you so much. Hey, Sophia, thank you so much for modding for me. I really appreciate you. Thank you. That is the news tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Daily Traffic, a segment within Unravel with Natalie Denise, Nightly with Natalie. I surely appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. Just FYI, there will be more border operations upcoming for me. So if you want to support and help me with gear, with gas, definitely with gear. I need a lot of help with gear. You can go to nataliedenise.com/donate, where I will also be using some of that money to also bless the militia that I am with. And that I operate with snacks and treats. So I would love to bless them with that, as well as I do need gear. I'm just being transparent. I need more things. I need camo. I need ammo. I need a lot. I need a lot. I need some gear. I need supplies. So anyway, with that being said, I appreciate all your support. Thank you so much for your love. Again, share this with somebody, because nobody's talking about this. And this is important stuff to know. You didn't know, and now you do. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys tomorrow in the next episode. Have a great day or have a great night. See you later.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natalie Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.